when I was not smoking weed regularly, including my 6 years active duty in the military, past relationships that girls didn't want me smoking weed, I'd quit for long periods, different jobs, trying to get jobs, I would quit for extended periods. I would always have nightmares, really intense, really stressful, really violent nightmares. And when I smoke weed, whether it's during the day or before bed, I don't have those dreams, or they're very rare. And they are usually, when they are they are remembered, when I can get up and actually remember them for an extended period, they're usually nonviolent. They're usually just something wacky or weird. But for whatever reason, and this is all anecdotal, like I said, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but some suppression of REM sleep appears to help with that area of my life. Yeah. And that's something like, you look up here and I see a lot of different things it can help with. It doesn't necessarily say that.
No. I think Mac's going to talk about this, but I'm going to go ahead and throw my anecdotal in real quick because this is something I've experienced. I just quit smoking. Like, I was regular use. I was regular use smoking weed. I said I started in high school and stuff, and I smoked weed all the way through. We were both in the military. I didn't smoke weed in the military. I mean, on occasion I did, like when I was on a long leave or something. You best believe I ran straight up and was like, time to get high.
Yeah, what you gonna do?
Smoke weed for like those first 3 days, and then I, let the rest of the month like get out of my system. But still, we smoked hella spice. I mean, that fake shit, I smoked that shit like almost every day. So I was still getting high.
These are your soldiers, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, they are. They fucked around and made me UPL guy. I was the guy who was in charge of the piss tests, and I would be smoking every day.
Yeah, my squad leader was ready clean.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
on deck.
Had that shit on deck.
And then even in Afghanistan, when I was on as a contractor, I smoked weed every single day. I mean, even deployed. So, I mean, I've been smoking like heavily, constantly for a long time. And then just last year, maybe 2 years ago, I started experimenting with this idea of sobriety and stuff. And I was like, I want to see. I mean, I've been smoking like this for 15 years, 16 years. I was like, I don't even remember what it's like to live life without it anymore. And so I wanted to start, doing that experiment. But anyways, that's led me to different bouts of, going without it. And then now recently, I just stopped these last couple of months, or 1 month, actually. It's just been 1 month since I haven't been smoking weed at all. And all of a sudden I've been having these fucking dreams that I never had dreams before. I mean, I've had them before, but I wasn't able to link it to marijuana. At first I thought it was because I quit smoking cigarettes and stuff, but anyways, I started having these dreams, crazy dreams, man. And same thing. I wouldn't necessarily call mine nightmares, but they definitely weren't like, they're filled with anxiety, like it's like a lot of like worry in my dreams, like, oh, I gotta get here, I gotta get away from this thing or something.
Where's my weapon?
Like,
that's
stuff
the thing
like that.
Where's my weapon?
Like, so, anxiety filled dreams, but it's been interesting, like ever since I quit smoking weed, they've been hitting me like a motherfucker.
Yeah, same with me. I wouldn't say that mine are nightmares or filled with anxiety, really. They're, like he said, kind of just like wacky. Like some of the ones that you've had before when you can remember your dreams while you're smoking. But now that I've stopped. So a few months ago, I did like a 30-day sobriety thing, kind of on the same level that you were on. Like, I just want to see what it's like to be sober again. And I think it's now about a month since I last smoked weed again. I'm going to go the whole year without smoking weed, which would be like the longest I'd ever done it since I started. And I also have had dreams. Like, I have dreams like every single night now. And it's like, none of them are really like alarming to me, or like sometimes I'll wake up and if it's like that one I told you, it was kind of like an interesting premise I thought for like a movie or like a short or something like that.
I walked in on that and it blew my mind.
Like I'll write that down. But most of the time, like I wake up and I'm like, man, that's weird. And then I just get to my morning routine. But my whole thing with it is like, I wanted to talk about sort of the post smoking weed since I've quit. And that was like the number one thing that was fascinating to me was like the dreams. Like because I used to tell people, like, even when we were talking about dreams and stuff like that, like in high school, I'd be like, I don't have dreams. Sleep to me is like time travel. Yeah. I go to sleep and then instantaneously I feel like no time has elapsed at all, but I'll wake up and it'll be 8-7 hours later.
Yeah. I love that feeling.
It's great. Like I love that feeling too. And now sometimes like I'll wake up and I'll be like, whew, just had a long
sleep is
whatever.
An
Yeah, like sleep is now an active process now. And so I did some research, not like a lot of it, but I did some research on why this was. And I had heard that idea that like smoking weed can can suppress REM sleep, which is the REM stands for rapid eye movement, and it's one of the phases of sleep that you go through in a cycle. You go through about 4 or 5 of these cycles per night, and REM sleep is usually the one that is associated with the most active dreaming.
Brain activity.
Brain activity, well, that depends on how you define brain activity, because your brain is active the whole time you're asleep. But for like visual and auditory and stuff like that, like REM sleep is the only sleep where your body is shut down. So like if you've ever watched a dog dream, you can see it like twitching and its muscles will be twitching and stuff, and that's because the nervous system of animals, most animals including dogs, doesn't actually fully shut down when they go into rapid eye movement sleep. It continues to operate, which is why you can see dogs barking and kind of twitching their legs. They don't have full control over it, so they're not like literally running in place, but you can see them like they're like, oh, he's chasing, chasing something like a rabbit or whatever in their
That's
dreams.
right, people. Dogs dream.
Dogs dream. This is very true. This is a fact. And so in doing my research, I was like, okay, well, let me find out more about this. Like, is it just as simple as smoking weed suppresses REM sleep? And as I expected, it is not that simple. It actually does many different things to what doctors call sleep architecture. And so, firstly, it says here, I had a little article that I went through to kind of learn a little bit about this, and it says, we're starting with a common question: how does cannabis affect sleep architecture, the cycles and stages of sleep we experience every single night? And there isn't a simple answer to that question, in large part because there are several factors that come into play when looking at this. And the factors that they listed are dosing, so how much weed you're consuming, how it's consumed, so if you're like vaping it, smoking it, if you're doing like topicals and creams and stuff like that, like all of these different, if you're ingesting it with edibles, all of these different ways of consuming cannabis lead to different ways of it affecting your sleep and your body in general. And it also is one of the biggest factors is the strain of cannabis that you're smoking. Not necessarily like the strain name, like Blue Dream or whatever, but like the actual chemical and cannabinoid breakdown of the weed itself. And so like when you think about like the strains, a lot of people know that there's like indica and there's like sativa, and they think like, like, oh, well, the indica is like really heavy, body relaxing, and so they associate that with sleeping, whereas sativa is kind of like energizing and stuff like that. Yeah, like a head high, and you don't really get that same body high. And actually that has more to do with the terpene profile of the cannabis rather than the if it's indica or sativa. And actually what I was really like blown away at the idea that CBD, the main cannabinoids in weed that people know of are THC, which is a psychoactive one, and CBD, which a lot of people refer to as like the medical one. That's the one that they put in creams and stuff like that. And like you said, you had a CBD joint, and a lot of people don't like them if they're into smoking weed because they like to just get high.
Yeah, it doesn't get you.
It doesn't get you high. It's non-psychoactive. However, as far as when it comes to sleep, THC is actually the one that has the higher effect on your sleep. And it's not necessarily about whether it was indica or sativa, but it's the THC content of the weed. So higher THC content leads to more REM sleep suppression, and it leads to more heightened changes in your sleep architecture. So
my research has shown me that. Based upon my research studies, let me tell you, I get 86%
I've been doing studies
sativa dominant THC shit.
I've been doing studies for 27 years, and let me tell you, my studies concur with these facts.
Yeah.